let's talk a little bit more in depth about control of the pupils of the eye, and specifically what makes them dilate and constrict. So remember what the special terms were for this. Well, dilation was mydriasis, and then constriction was meiosis. And we'll focus on meiosis first. What was the part of the brain that was responsible for meiosis? Specifically, sympathetic or parasympathetic? The answer is parasympathetic, because remember, in fight or flight, when you're running for your life, that's a sympathetic response that's going to dilate your pupils, make your eyes as big as possible. So parasympathetics will then be the opposite. So the thing that leads to pupillary constriction is usually also when you have increased light input. So you have light source here. It's going to basically cause meiosis. Your eyes are trying to dim it down, reduce the light overload. And your light is going to be sensed by the optic nerve. And it's going to take that light sense, and it's going to take it all the way back here to the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. And note that it takes the light, even though light in one eye, it's going to get sent to bilateral Edinger-Westphal nucleus, okay? That's a key term you want to know. One light in one eye goes to bilateral Edinger-Westphal nuclei. The next thing that's going to happen is this is where it synapses. So the cranial nerve 2 is going to synapse with cranial nerve 3. Remember that cranial nerve 3 also carries parasympathetics. Remember which was it, inside or outside? It was on the outside, and that was important. So this is going to synapse here at Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Cranial nerve 3 and its parasympathetic nerves are going to go out bilaterally. Remember, it's bilateral, and it's going to hit at the ciliary ganglion. Okay, it's going to synapse there, and it synapses with these nerves right here that are called the short ciliary nerves. Okay, and these short ciliary nerves go from the ciliary ganglion and synapse and go to the pupillary sphincter muscles and make your pupil constrict. So then the mnemonic here is that short ciliary nerves make your pupil shorter. Okay, so I would memorize this whole pathway. Remember this: that light goes taken in by the optic nerves, goes to the bilateral Edinger-Westphal nuclei, where it synapses with cranial nerve 3. Cranial nerve 3 comes out with its parasympathetics, goes to bilateral ciliary ganglion, and then you have short ciliary nerves making the pupil shorter. This is the pupillary light reflex. We already learned about that, and just remember how it made sense just by knowing your cranial nerves. So mydriasis, which was dilation of the pupil, is a sympathetic response, and we've actually already covered that. Remember how we covered the sympathetic pathways? And remember, you probably forgot all the details. This one wasn't my greatest lecture, and the details were a little complicated. But basically, remember, our first neuron started at the hypothalamus, which was the center of the autonomic nervous system, and went down to the spinal cord, synapsed at T1, because it's going to the face, the sympathetics were going to the face, and then it comes out of the spinal cord, travels along the sympathetic chain ganglia. This is the second neuron now. It's going to go up the sympathetic chain ganglia, and it's going to synapse at the superior cervical ganglion. And then that third nerve is going to come out, and it's going to travel along the internal carotid, and it's going to go through the cavernous sinus, and then it's going to enter the orbit as the long ciliary nerve. It's going to go to the pupillary dilator muscle and cause eye dilation. So the other mnemonic is that the long ciliary nerve makes the pupil longer. Okay. And this part we've already covered in depth, so I don't need to go over that again. So that's it for our pupillary control pathways. Remember, we covered meiosis in depth, and then mydriasis is basically, it's just the sympathetic pathways. Okay.